Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining today's webinar, IBM Cloud Pak for Automation and Why You Should Care. This is part one of a four-part series. Here to present today from the Integro team, we have CEO and President Scott Burt and Senior Technical Consultant Martin Willingham. Before we get started, I wanted to remind you that we will have a couple of polls throughout the webinar, so please be on the lookout for those so you can cast your vote. Also in the drop-down menu of Go To Webinar is a Questions tab. Please feel free to submit any questions you may have throughout the webinar, and Scott and Martin will address them at the end. And lastly, when you exit the webinar, there will be a short survey, and we'd love to hear your feedback. That's all I have, so enjoy the webinar, and I'll hand it over to Scott.
Great, Lindsay, thank you. Thanks for organizing the webcast for us here. And I'm excited to see such a good attendance here. We have a strong interest in this topic, as I think we should. I'm excited that we have Martin. Martin Willingham is going to be presenting for us today. Martin is, he's not on the sales side of the organization. He's get your hands dirty, work with the technology, implement it, run it kind of a guy. He's been doing FileNet since 1996, both as an end user, helping running it for his companies as well. Then he went to FileNet and IBM, and now we're happy to have him here at Integro. So thanks, Martin, for doing this for us. This is a great topic. IBM is making a huge push around containers and their strategy around Cloud Paks. And you're going to learn more about the Cloud Paks as an overview today, and then drilling more deeply into the Cloud Pak for automation and why it's so important. It's pretty exciting. I'm really impressed with what IBM has been doing recently with their strategy and execution around where they're going to compete in the cloud with containers and supportability and that kind of thing, and have been listening to customers that were tired of expensive, big upgrades and the like, and also the lack of flexibility in licensing, and all of that is addressed here with Cloud Paks and Cloud Pak for automation. Now, by the way, I also want to mention this is the first in a four-part webinar series. So today we're doing the overview for Cloud Pak for automation, and then in March, our partner Salient is going to be presenting along with IBM on the business process automation personality of this product. And then Martin will come back again in April and present on the content and capture. And then there will be a 1-hour technical considerations when deploying. It'll be coming up as well. All those are posted on the integro.com website. With that, I'm excited to introduce Martin. And Martin, take it away.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Lindsay. I couldn't agree more. I've been working with FileNet and IBM products for a long time, and they really are pushing into some really cool, exciting new territory. So what we're going to talk about today are what are Cloud Paks. You may have heard the term, you may not know what they are. What is specifically Cloud Pak for automation, and why should you care? Okay, so I think we're going to have a poll right now about what are Cloud Paks. Is that right, Lindsay?
Yeah, so the first poll question is, what is a Cloud Pak? Is it software, technology, licensing, or all of the above? If you could please cast your vote.
Okay, looks
all
like
right, everyone's voted.
Okay, thanks, Lindsay. 96% of the people got it right. It is all of the above. It's software, it's technology, and it's a way of licensing. So nice job. So here we go. IBM Cloud Paks. This is the deal. Cloud platforms and container technology has been around for not nearly as long as physical servers and virtual servers and on-premise data centers. It offers great benefits, probably in most cases very superior benefits over traditional implementations, yet only 20% of companies have adopted them. Why is that? This is IBM's question. The answer is because of primarily lack of skills. People don't know really what all this stuff is, containers and Kubernetes and all. There's integration problems with their existing workloads and how to integrate them into the new technologies. As not all the applications are supported yet, there is some investment cost both in training and in infrastructure. And then, of course, FUD, which you know is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You don't want to be the first one on the block to do some of this stuff. But in the ECM world, we're a little behind on it, but in the other, in more microservices technology, most of the stuff you see on the web, they're already ventured into this territory, and it's a proven technology. So IBM has developed Cloud Packs to kind of encourage and motivate and move people towards moving in this direction. So they've created these solutions, certified solutions using containers, which are lightweight, enterprise grade, modular, portable container software packages. So containers, and I'll talk more about it in a minute, but basically you get a self-contained read-only image that is customizable at runtime, and it's very modular and portable and very fast. It's faster, it's more reliable, it's repeatable to get into your upgrades and installations, deployments than traditional approaches. It can be run on premises, it can be run in a public cloud, you can share it and do a hybrid approach. Again, these are IBM certified solutions prepackaged. So this is going to make people, make it much easier for people to adopt. It should reduce deployment time and operating expenses by quite a lot. Okay, so IBM has the first 5 Cloud Packs here listed are for applications, data integration, automation, and multi-cloud management. Today we're only talking about automation. That's the 4th one. This is shown better on the next slide, so I'm going to go forward. So this is a nice little picture of Cloud Pak for automation. You have the 5 major components in the middle. That's tasks or digital workers, robots, and then older technologies, but that are rapidly moving in the technology direction, you might say, of workflow and decisions, content and capture, all surrounded with a new user interface that is common among all the applications. It has governance across the board and analytics, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, all in whatever cloud deployment or on-premises deployment you want.
And all that's, Martin, go back 1 second there. And all that machine learning and AI is just built into this solution so that customers can leverage it more easily, correct?
That's right. It's not just able to call AI, although it is able to do that. Many of the tools have it built in.
To capture all the key data, like through a workflow process. So everybody notice there the first 3 are around the automation, and then the last 2, content and capture, around ECM and scanning, capture, etc. And so the next 2 webinars are going to be on automation and content and capture, going deeper on those capabilities. So you might know IBM BPM is one of the things there on the left, and ODM, etc. On the right is FileNet and data cap, things like that. Thanks, Martin. Keep going.
All right. Okay, so this page is referring to hyperautomation. This is an IBM term. This is an industry term, where we in the ECM business have been doing digital work for a long time. We moved documents from file cabinets into a place where everybody could see it on their computer quite a few decades ago. Workflow at the same time, business rules. This is a proven and solid technology that is still used heavily in a lot of different industries. And now we're moving more into intelligent automation. That's where we apply artificial intelligence and machine learning. And hyperautomation is where we move even farther forward into hybrid workforces where we have digital workers. And if you can see that little picture, that's a human and a robot giving each other a high five. So that's where we're going. Okay, IBM sort of has some guiding principles and themes. And so what I'm going to talk about for the next few minutes is not the products that are in Cloud Pak for automation, but sort of the principles and ideas that IBM is pushing towards. First is, as we've mentioned several times, embedded intelligence. That's AI and machine learning. Next is insights into your business. There are a lot of siloed applications even within this ECM suite of products in IBM, and they put out data in different formats and different types. And this principle is to give business users insight into all those areas from a single location. to empower business users and to reduce dependency on IT. And we'll see this in a couple of the different tools. We're really trying to push business users to be able to create applications and workflows on their own without a lot of waiting around on IT. Digital workers is sort of the concept of not just robots, but intelligent handoff between humans and robots, and more smart workflow. Low and no code application creation, and I'll show you a little bit more about this in a minute, where users can create their own applications. A common UI all the way from building to using to operating and administrating the products. Container-based, as I mentioned earlier, container-based and cloud-based, whether it's managed service, SaaS, or customer managed, that is the direction. No lock into any cloud provider. You can move these containers from vendor to vendor. Simpler upgrades. I'm going to talk more about this too. Simpler upgrades it sounds simple. I mean, it sounds like maybe a lesser priority item, but this is a big ticket item for a lot of customers. They're tired of the long upgrades and patches. And then flexible licensing. You only have to pay for what you need. You can move, you can change from one product to another with the licensing. Scott, I think you had something you wanted to mention about that.
Yeah, I want to jump in on a couple of these points and just shine a light on them. You know, IBM has been your workflow platform for years for large, complex, hundreds of users, lots of steps, integrations, workflows where your developers would create these solutions, or on enterprise content management to manage large-scale enterprise content management kind of solutions. And by bringing it to the citizen developers, it really can make it higher value, not even a quicker value, but a broader base of value. So now you can, with IBM, not only automate those big processes with thousands of flows every day, you can also have end users with controls and with reuse and some other great principles that IBM brings to the table, being able to leverage that. And so you can leverage this technology across the full spectrum of your needs. And then lastly, on that flexible licensing, that's pretty huge. A lot of times a project might require 5 different products. And we try to scope and size and figure out where you're gonna need X number of processes or this one, and to figure out all the licensing. And then you get into the project and maybe you need more of one or less of another or none of one, you figured out. And with this licensing model, you can not use one and you still have that capacity, use it for one of the other capabilities of the product. So great flexibility for customers, which is really exciting now, and that makes it easier for us delivering solutions for customers, but also then for customers to be able to consume and use and manage and be happier with the licensing. It's cool.
Thanks, Scott. And the final item on this list is there's new functionality in all the products. So we're not really talking today about the functionality within each product, but just we're going to talk about that in future webinars. But just so you know, there is a lot of new functionality. Okay, so in what products are we talking about? These are the products that comprise Cloud Packs for automation. Content Manager, that's FileNet P8. Business Automation Navigator, that's the same thing as ICN or Content Navigator. Business Automation Content Analyzer, that's sometimes known as BACA, most frequently known as Content Analyzer. That's a microservice container technology for capture. Business Automation Insights, BAI, I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. And then your decisions, ODM and decision services. Business Automation Studio is where you go to do these no and low code application creations. Workstream Services is a really cool new product I'm going to show you in a few minutes. Digital Workers is the robotic type automation. And then the ones with the asterisks, Enterprise Records, Business Automation Workflow, that's a combination of IBM BPM and Case Manager, as well as Content Collector and Data Cap. These are included but not containerized. Also, I have a typo there, I put Data Cap twice. Those Enterprise Records and Automation Workflow should be containerized very soon. Content Collector and Data Cap can communicate to the containers, but because they're so heavily Windows based, they're probably not going to be containerized anytime soon.
So Martin, when you get the Cloud Pak, you can get any of those, you can deploy one of those products or three of those products or all of those products. It's just a matter of how much licensing you get, right? But
that's right. You may put them in one platform for one product and a different platform for another, but for a licensing standpoint, it's the same.
Right. So when you say platform, you mean like Amazon AWS or Google Cloud or IBM Cloud or on-prem, right?
Well, you teed the next slide up quite well, Scott. So what is he talking about? Where can you deploy this stuff? So here are the logos for the different types of technology. This is not encompassing by any means. But on the left, and some of you may be familiar with this, I'm going to go ahead and bring up this. So on the left, you have Docker on top and Kubernetes on bottom. Those are the logos. Docker is basically the container, the lightweight, standalone set of executable packages in a single read-only image that includes the application code, and includes the runtime, the system tools, the libraries, the settings, and it all runs on the underlying, it uses the underlying resources of the operating system for the kernel. So you can run a lot of these applications just as standalone Docker containers. The problem is they're not very well, it's difficult to organize and manage and orchestrate. So that's where Kubernetes comes in. Kubernetes is the platform that enables you to deploy, monitor, update, load balance, provides all the high availability, scaling, security to make it an enterprise grade offering. Okay, so Kubernetes is great. Now what's OpenShift? OpenShift is Red Hat's, which is now owned by IBM. It is Kubernetes with another layer on top that includes a private registry, a management console, monitoring, a lot of additional functionality. And then that you can run on premises or on a public cloud, like Scott mentioned. You can run this on AWS, on Azure, on Google, in IBM's cloud, anywhere you want it. It just looks like a standard application. And then Red Hat OpenShift on OpenCloud is IBM's managed service of OpenShift. And finally, on the right, you have public cloud Kubernetes services. Okay, so that's not OpenShift, that's just Kubernetes service, and that is fully supported by IBM as long as it's a certified Kubernetes environment. And there are a bunch of them, and I've just put the big four on top. That's IBM on the top left, AWS on the top right, and then the bottom left is Google's Kubernetes service, and the bottom right is Azure, Microsoft's Azure Kubernetes service. So you can run this stuff Kubernetes native in the cloud without having to manage the infrastructure of it. And just so you know, this is not this technology is not an alternate way that IBM is looking to enable these new types of customers. This is the direction. This is the direction IBM's taking. They still support the VM applications, and they may for a long time, but this is definitely the direction. And in fact, some of the products and some of the functionality only exist on the containers. And I imagine that's also going to be the continued direction of IBM.
So the train is leaving the station.
Hop aboard, or you're going to get left behind. Okay, so we covered this in a previous webinar, but I thought I'd quickly go over why you should choose cloud and why you should choose containers. Many of the reasons that people are worried or hesitant or concerned about the cloud is for these four things: security, performance, reliability, and cost. And in fact, in most cases, security is better at a place like AWS than it would be at your own data center. Performance is usually as good and easy to spread across multiple zones. Reliability, absolutely, reliability is a plus in the cloud platform. And cost, you only have to pay for what you use. So if you're doing a big migration and you need a bunch of extra petabytes for temporarily, if you're in a data center, you have to pay for it, and it's yours. If you're in the cloud platform, you pay for it, you do your migration, and then you turn them off and you don't pay for them anymore. Same with a lot of the services. Containers, I've mentioned some of this already. Rapid deployment, usually zero downtime for patching. You're using your resources a lot better, which is also cheaper. So easy to scale, so easy to monitor and set up logging tools, and you're not locked in to any vendor. Okay, now I'm going to go through some of the Cloud Pak for automation new functionality. So digital workers are, it's sometimes confused with robots, but it's a lot bigger. It includes robots, but it enables you to insert automation into more areas of your business. And it enables subject matter experts to be able to focus on high value work instead of doing things that digital workers can do. They're easy to control and monitor, and they're easy to enhance with AI. So some of the things that digital workers can do are under the three categories of understand, decide, and act. Understand is where a digital worker can do things like extract content, can classify it, detect tone, detect items in a visual image, and then once it knows what it is or what it needs to do, it can decide what to do, and then it can actually act on those things. Really cool new technology. This screen just kind of shows you what you would see at a user interface. On the top, you can see skills catalog, digital worker tasks, and you can monitor the performance. And in the bottom screen, you can I just took a little screenshot of if you filter on the left by the understand skills, you can see you can only see 4 of them, but there are a whole page full of different skills that come pre-packaged out of the box, ready to go. So in that case, you can see there's text classification, content extraction, and so on. So here's a very quick example of when you might use this. So if you were to want to get involved with digital workers, you'd first take a look, and of course, a services company like Integro can help you with this. You'd look at your workflows. In this case, you have 3 swim lanes for buyer, AP clerk, and manager. And in the middle lane, and these are all done by humans, in the middle lane, you've identified that the 2 boxes that are outlined in red, enter invoice and match invoice, are good candidates for automating with digital workers. And so you put in the digital workers, you automate this task, and you can see the result. 62.5% of the time, it was able to successfully match the invoice with the invoice with maybe like an ERP system. And then the rest of the time it failed, but it's not really a failure. It just means it was forwarded to a human worker because it wasn't able to do the match. The next area I want to discuss is low-code applications. And this is the ability to give business users and subject matter experts a more direct role in creating applications. This reduces the dependency on IT. In most cases, you can do it with no code. Some cases, like a power user, or as Scott mentioned earlier, a citizen developer. They can do more powerful with slight amount of code. IBM's really pushing this, and they're going to create more and more low-code applications. There are out-of-the-box templates and toolkits to help you. It's not the Wild West out there. There is lifecycle governance. And according to Forrester, there's going to be a gap, a deficit of 500,000 developers by 2024. So that's a big reason for the push. This is in this low-code application, you have 2 kind of roles: provider and assembler, or advanced and basic. And this is just a screen to show you what the screen looks like. Come back for our future webinars to see more about this. Work streams is a really cool new product, and the idea is that business users can create workflows. Simple workflows is 65%. 65% of workflows are simple, either sequence of steps and/or checklists and/or approvals that don't really require that much sophistication or complexity. But right now, all you have is workflow, and now you have a new tool called Workstreams that's fast but safe. It's cloud native. This is kind of a picture of what it would look like to create, and you can Once you get one that you like, you can send it into BAW. They can be integrated. It's a great new product. This is kind of a graph showing you where you might use this. And you can see on the right, the more complex workflows need to be created by a workflow developer, and that's where BAW comes in. But for a lot of the lower complexity, you don't have to wait for your BAW developer to come in and create these things. We can inject AI in a lot more areas in decisions, capture, workflow, digital workers, and content. This is a little example of an adjuster and a senior adjuster. And an adjuster is a lower priced worker. A senior adjuster is a higher priced, and typically if there's a queue of items that need to be worked, they would just go and pick the ones they want to work, or the ones that are on the top of the list. And the senior worker, they have decided that they want him or her to be focused on more valuable work, and they're also not as good at these tasks. So the left box is kind of hard to understand by looking at it, but the left box is before AI is introduced. The right side is using the next best task AI method, where it looks at the cost of the worker and how efficient they are at it and assigns them the tasks based on those factors, and you increase overall efficiency and of your staff. This is another area in Content Analyzer, a mortgage application. You can dump a bunch of documents into a zone and have it detect what type of documents those are and assign them. And you can see in the checkbox there that Mortgage Watson NLU is configured as an AI integration. 360-degree insights. This is primarily business automation insights. This is really cool. And all of the suite of products across Cloud Pak for Automations is now going to be able to emit in a standard format metrics to a single location in BAI, and a business user is going to be able to create dashboards out of that, out-of-the-box dashboards. This is really revolutionary when you think about what it takes to create a dashboard from a lot of different. Imagine in today's world where you have to, if you wanted to create dashboards like these, you have to cobble together database queries, Cognos, PCH metrics, JMX metrics, log files. That would be practically impossible to create into a single dashboard, or at least without a lot of effort. Here you can do it out of the box. And then we have open source monitoring and logging screens. This is Grafana. It's easy to configure. It's easy. This graph right here is very easy to configure. And finally, easy upgrades. This is, as I said earlier, this is not a small thing. This is a big factor. Creating an upgrade, doing an upgrade used to require a lot of staff, a lot of coordination, a lot of downtime, a lot of opportunity costs, and much easier now. I'm going to show you an example of upgrading ICN to the next interim fix. And as you can see here, all I have to do is update a single YAML file, log into OpenShift, and apply that YAML. This is on a live system. I did this yesterday. So as you can see here, I'm running IBM Navigator 307.000.6555. I'm going, and you can see there is the container running right now, the one I have highlighted. There's a single instance run. It's been running for 4 days. I'm going to comment out the previous version. That's 307 GA, and I'm going to add in the new version, Interfix 1. So I don't have to download it. I'm pointing to a repository, an IBM repository. I'm just going to point to that repository. As long as you have connectivity, this is possible. There are other ways to do it if you don't, but they're just as simple. I'm going to apply this configuration file right here. I'm going to see that it's creating the new instance. There it's created. It's been created for a couple of minutes, and there's the new version. It's been upgraded to the next interim fix. It didn't require any downtime, didn't require much work at all. I upgraded, I adjusted one single line on one single file, and that's it. So that shows you the power and ease in this new container world. IBM is committed to creating upgrade abilities that use this technology.
How long would that have taken you previously, Martin?
Good question. This would have taken, for a simple interim fix, it would have taken several hours and downtime. But for a large implementation where you have to coordinate load balancing in multiple instances and WAS, ND nodes and clusters, this would have taken hours or days.
And then how long did it take here?
About 5 minutes.
Sweet.
And one quick thing, I could go remove that comment to the, if I didn't like what the new version has, I could comment out the lower tag and put back the new tag, apply it, and I will roll back, no problem. Now, in some cases, if it's a major fix back or a major upgrade and there's database changes underneath the covers, it might require a little bit of downtime, but nothing like what you have to do in a traditional VM a VM environment. Okay, it's 3:31. Sorry, I ran 1 minute late, and now I think, Lindsay, we have a poll or questions?
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and jump to the questions since we're a little bit over. So we have a couple that came in. The first one was, will this work with the IBM Cloud?
IBM Cloud, that's a good term. IBM Cloud does have a SaaS offering for many of these products, and you can, so that's one offering, IBM Cloud SaaS. Yes, that's right, that'll work. And you can deploy Kubernetes in IBM Cloud, and you can deploy Red Hat OpenShift in the IBM Cloud. So yes to all of the above.
Awesome. And then next question, is BAW containerized?
BAW is not yet containerized, but I believe it's going to be in the second quarter of this year that it's released. And IBM would be able to know that a better answer to that, but I believe that's right.
We don't give dates for future versions, etc., but it's coming. Yep.
Yeah. Great question, though.
And then last question that we have is, we're considering venturing into a container-based implementation, but we have very little in-house experience. What's the best way to begin?
That's a great question. If you're interested in doing it in-house, I would recommend getting someone on your staff Kubernetes trained. It's not a lot. You can find a lot of it on the internet. IBM offers Kubernetes training. Red Hat offers it. There's plenty out there, but just get somebody on your staff that can understand a little bit of Kubernetes. And then the next thing would be to set up a discovery workshop with us or another provider and do a POC. It's really easy to install. Kubernetes is, what you saw on my screen is, it's not very hard. It's not hard at all. So just basically put your foot in the water and give it a try, and maybe set up a POC where you can test it out in your environment.
And Martin, in our fourth webinar, we're going to be talking more about deployment options and considerations, like greenfield and upgrades and things like that, going from on-prem to containers. Correct?
Yeah, and we're going to show you in that webinar a lot more details about how you would upgrade a certain environment, how you would move from on-premises VM, on-premise OpenShift, or move to the cloud, and what are all the implications and considerations. Yes.
Well, it's time to end here. Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks, Martin, for doing this. And even though we went a few minutes over, it doesn't look like anybody dropped off, so that's great. And thank you very much to everybody. Lindsay or Martin, any other closing comments?
Thanks for listening, and I guess signing off.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Lindsay.